2 fingers. That's what stood between Thor and Doctor Doom in the new Avengers Doomsday trailer, and it might be the most quietly devastating moment the MCU has ever filmed. Here's the shot. Thor comes down out of the sky in a streak of lightning, Stormbreaker raised, aimed straight at Doom's head. This is the same weapon that once stood a real chance of ending Thanos. It's killed gods, it's cut through armies. And Doctor Doom doesn't move his feet, doesn't raise a shield, doesn't even flinch. He lifts 2 fingers, and the axe simply stops. Thor's own momentum snaps to a halt, like he's run into a wall that isn't there. Calling that Doom stopped Thor almost undersells it. This isn't a fight, it's an embarrassment. And it's not the first time the MCU has used Thor this way. Thanos did something similar to Hulk back in Avengers Infinity War, brushing aside the strongest Avenger without much effort. But even Thanos swung his fists to do it. Doom didn't even need to make a proper gesture. So how does one man do that to a god? To understand it, we have to understand what Doctor Doom actually is, because he's not like any of the magic users we've already met in this universe. If you look at the magic the MCU has shown us so far, it tends to fall into a few clear boxes. Loki uses a blend of Asgardian and Jotun tricks, mostly illusions and mental manipulation, nothing anyone else has really replicated. Wanda Maximoff, despite being a mutant, wields something entirely her own. Chaos magic, powerful enough to reshape reality itself, which is exactly what she did across an entire town in WandaVision. Then there's Doctor Strange and the sorcerers of Kamartaj, who use eldritch magic protection spells, binding spells, attack spells, all built on years of study, ancient books, and very specific hand movements. Doctor Doom doesn't belong to any of those categories. In the comics, his magic comes from Romani witchcraft, passed down through the culture he was born into. His mother, Cynthia von Doom, was a Romani sorceress in the fictional nation of Latveria, who struck a desperate bargain with the demon Mephisto to protect her people from a brutal ruler, a deal that spiraled out of her control and ultimately cost her life and her soul, which Mephisto has held ever since. That single event shaped the rest of Victor Von Doom's life. He grew up chasing 2 things at once: the power to save his mother, and the power to make sure no one could ever hurt him or his people again. That mix is what makes him dangerous, because unlike Strange, Doom refuses to play by magic's usual rules. When Doctor Strange needs something from the darker side of magic, he goes about it almost diplomatically. He'll summon a demon, negotiate, strike a bargain the way he did with the entity Dormammu. Doom does the opposite. He'll summon the exact same kind of demon and then blackmail it, manipulate it, or trap it and drain its power outright. If Strange had gone up against Dormammu the way Doom operates, it's very possible Strange wouldn't have needed to die on loop nearly as many times as he did. It would have been Dormammu doing the losing. Strange respects magic because he learned it slowly, book by book, spell by spell. Doom doesn't respect anything. He was raised on his mother's stolen knowledge, then spent years traveling the world extracting techniques from other sorcerers, scholars, and wizards, and instead of following their rules, he engineers each one into a more efficient version, fused with his own scientific mind. It's the same instinct that made Tony Stark build the first Iron Man suit in a cave with a box of scraps. Doom applies that exact mindset to magic. He learns a spell, strips it down, rebuilds it to suit himself, and only then uses it. Then there's the armor, and comic history says the design in the trailer isn't random. In the source comics, Doom's armor started with the help of a tribe of Tibetan monks after he was left disfigured by a failed science experiment. It was forged from a titanium alloy, then infused with dark magic and layered with his own technology on the inside, creating something that's part suit, part machine, part spellbook you can wear. No ordinary person in Marvel's own lore has ever survived putting it on. Over the decades, Doom has upgraded that armor again and again, at one point fusing vibranium and uru, the same metal Stormbreaker itself is forged from, into an even stronger alloy. And there's one particular comic book upgrade that lines up almost exactly with what the trailer shows us. In the storyline Unthinkable, Doom decides science alone isn't enough anymore and turns to a trio of demons known as the Hazareth 3 for real magical power. Their price is a sacrifice of something irreplaceable. Doom chooses Valeria, his childhood love from his Romani community, and hands her over. Her skin becomes the material of his new armor, engraved with runes that make him powerful enough to trap Doctor Strange, neutralize the Fantastic Four, and summon demons at will, all without lifting more than a finger. It's one of the darkest things Doom has ever done in the comics, and it's a useful reminder that whatever version of Doom shows up in Doomsday, hero is very much the wrong word for him. Reed Richards eventually beats him in that story, and even then, it isn't Reed's strength that does it. It's Doom's own ego. Now look again at the armor plating in the trailer. It's covered in runes, and the MCU has already taught us exactly what runes do. In WandaVision, Agatha Harkness traps Wanda in a basement and explains that rune magic lets a witch claim a location, so that only she can cast spells there. Wanda later turns that same trick against Agatha to beat her. If Doom's armor is carrying that same rune magic permanently, built into the metal itself rather than drawn on the ground, then every inch of him becomes protected territory. Stopping Stormbreaker with 2 fingers stops being a display of raw strength and starts looking like a home field advantage he's simply always standing on. That also explains something else about how Doom moves in this trailer, or rather, how little he moves. Every sorcerer we've seen in the MCU so far performs elaborate hand gestures to cast anything. Strange's spinning circles, Wanda's flowing hex shapes. Doom does none of that. He raises 2 fingers. That's the whole performance. And if the comics are any guide, that restraint is deliberate. Doom's armor is built to channel his magic automatically, the way Stormbreaker channels Thor's lightning. So the stronger his magic grows, the less he physically needs to do to use it. So where does that leave the how of this moment? There's a theory floating around that Doom might have stolen Magneto's powers to stop a metal weapon like Stormbreaker, and it's not as far-fetched as it sounds, since in the comics, Doom has a long history of siphoning power from mutants, cosmic beings, and even Wanda herself. But the visual evidence in the trailer works against that idea. The energy around Doom's hand reads green, the same color signature the MCU has already used for Loki's magic, not anything resembling Magneto's. Which raises its own question worth sitting with. Did Doom absorb Loki's power too? That's a thread worth pulling on its own. For now, the simplest answer might also be the correct one. This is just Dr. Doom, operating at the level the comics have always said he could. And if that's the version Marvel is building toward Avengers, Doomsday, arriving in theaters December 18th, 2026, then stopping a god's weapon with 2 fingers isn't the ceiling of what he can do. It might be the floor. Be honest, does 2 fingers against Stormbreaker convince you Doom is the strongest villain the MCU has built? Or is this the same trick Marvel's pulled on Thor before? Let me know where you land in the comments. If this broke down something you'd been wondering about since the trailer dropped, subscribe. We're covering every piece of Avengers, Doomsday as it comes. Drop your theory below, and I'll see you in the next one.